Good morning, adventurers. My name is Ben, and welcome to a morning show where I sit around, drink some tea, and talk about D&D. All right, let's see how this is going to go, because I got my COVID booster yesterday, and so I'm feeling a little fuzzy in the head, and I can't really move my left arm all that much. So let's see how we do here. First up, we have D&D news, really from the whole weekend. The biggest thing is they finished announcing the cast for Battle for the Beyond, which seems like a really, really phenomenal cast. I'm really excited to get to watch it. That is coming out on November 12th. In addition, they announced Taz Imbalance. If you don't know what Taz is, it's the Adventure Zone. It looks like they are going back to the first arc that they are doing, but they are having it DM'd by apparently the hottest new DM in the scene, Abria Iyengar. I'm so excited to get to see her back behind the table again with that one. Also, the Wizards team is now really, really sort of hitting promotion for Strixhaven, and so they have been pushing the Owlin race out on different platforms. It is the one where you are just a big old owl. So I think we had gotten confirmation that is actually going to be in the book, but they are actually actively pushing that as part of their promo now, kind of like how they did with the Elderbrain Dragon and the Eye Drake for Fizzbands. But yeah, we are within a month of release for that now. For streams that we have going on today, we have at 4:30 Candlekeep Mysteries at twitch.tv/DND, and at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, we have Into the Mist on twitch.tv/DND. Those are the two that I have for today. If you know of any streams that you think I should be pushing on this, let me know, because I, again, want to build a bigger catalog of streams to talk about. For T&D today, I entirely forgot to bring the tea in here with me. But I have my normal green tea in my Caduceus Clay mug, my Dead People tea mug, because I get the feeling that I'm going to feel like a dead people that you can make tea out of by about lunch today, because I'm a little floaty already. So we're going to see how that goes. But without further ado, let's get into what we are actually talking about today, which is Paladins. Paladins, as I'm sure everybody knows, are sort of like... If clerics are like this gentle hand of divinity or whatever, paladins are like the fist that just punches you in the face a bunch of times. That's kind of like their whole deal. So let's walk through what paladins get at different levels. Oh, excuse me. I think I'm good. First up, at first level, paladins pick up Divine Sense, which as an action, you can sense any celestial, fiend, or undead within 60 feet of you that is not behind total cover. You can use that feature a number of times per long rest, equal to 1 plus your charisma modifier. And you also get access to Lay on Hands, which gives you a healing pool of 5 times your paladin level hit points to dole out as you see fit, which is really great for when you need to pick up a friend, give them 1 hit point, stand them up, and then they can keep going. You can alternatively spend 5 to end, I believe, a disease that is on one of them. Yeah. Spend 5 hit points from your healing pool to cure a target of 1 disease or neutralize 1 poison affecting it. Okay, there you go. That makes sense. That is also an action to use, so it is not necessarily the best use of your action always, but if you are in a pinch, definitely helpful. Also, as you get to higher levels, you can just start dumping hit points into yourself, because by the time you hit level 20, you'd have 100 to just go, okay, I'm going to heal myself for 100 hit points this action, and that's it. At level 2, you pick up a fighting style, you pick up spellcasting, and you pick up Divine Smite. Divine Smite allows you to expend a spell slot of first level or higher. When you do, you add 2d8 radiant damage to the attack that you have just hit with a melee weapon. And that increases as you go up in spell slot levels, all the way up to 5d8 as for a level 4 spell slot, and you get an extra d8 on top of that if you are attacking an undead or fiend, I believe. Yeah, undead or fiend. Up to a total maximum of an extra 68 per attack, so long as you have spell slots. A lot of people talk about how paladins really just use their spell slots for this, and there's a good reason for it. You can really just sort of funnel damage into stuff by doing this. At 3rd level, you pick up Divine Health, which makes you immune to all disease, as well as you pick up your Sacred Oath feature. at 3rd level in your Sacred Oath across the board, you will pick up a Channel Divinity option, just like those from the Cleric. But you don't have any general ones from the Paladin. You only get the ones that your Oath provides you with. At 5th level, you pick up extra attack. That one's pretty self-explanatory. All martial classes get that. At 6th level, you pick up Aura of Protection, which in a 10-foot radius around you gives a bonus to saves for any creature that you want within that area equal to your Charisma modifier. So if people are around you and you get hit with a fireball, everybody can add your Charisma modifier to that saving throw. Doesn't require an action, doesn't require a reaction, anything like that. All you have to be is conscious. Pretty solid. At 10th level, you pick up Aura of Courage, which adds to that saving throw bonus, that same 10-foot radius, that any creatures that you choose within that can't be frightened. So you can stare down a dragon with no problems. And you automatically get this bonus added into your saving throws and your immunity to fear and stuff like that. Again, so long as you are conscious. At 11th level, you pick up Improved Divine Smite, where you get an extra d8 of radiant damage on every single melee weapon attack that you make. That is crazy, because that means that if you pump a Divine Smite on top of that, you're looking at a maximum of an additional 7d8 radiant damage, in addition to whatever your weapon is doing, which presumably by the time you hit level 11, you're going to have some kind of magical weapon. Whether or not it adds a bunch of damage or not, it's kind of up to you. At 14th level, you pick up Cleansing Touch, which allows you to, as an action, end a spell on yourself or another willing creature that you can touch, equal to a number of times equal to your Charisma modifier, minimum of 1. So if you have a buddy who is affected by slow, you can just go tap as an action, and they're not slowed anymore. I mean, that's pretty good for the monk that, got stuck as being slowed or something like that. You can just boop, and they're done. Paralyzed, like hold person, hit him, boop, all done. Possessed, the barbarian gets possessed, boop, done. It is pretty good. And finally, at 18th level, your aura improves. All of the auras that you have extend to 30 feet around you, which means that you have a 60-foot diameter sphere that is just hanging out on top of you as you walk around. Because you also will get an aura from your subclass almost, I think, entirely across the board. You will get another aura. So you're going to have 3 total auras up at the same time. That's kind of ridiculous. So let's run through real quick what each of the different oaths are for the Paladin class. Paladins, in my opinion, whether I like it or not is an entirely different story. They are the single most, they check the most boxes across the board for any single D&D class. They are your tank, they are your damage dealer, they can be your healer, they can be your, spellcaster, they can be pretty much anything you want. A party full of paladins will have a much better time than a party full of rogues or a party full of bards or whatever. They are, honestly, just kind of the most versatile. Well, I don't even want to say they're the most versatile class, because I don't think that's necessarily true. They're the most, they can fill the most roles as needed. And so it's kind of hard to, categorize these subclasses, because they, at their core, the base class that we just talked about, can fill so many of these roles. So we're just going to kind of talk about what each of the different oaths means, what they are supposed to follow, but don't necessarily have to. First up, the Oath of Conquest is seeking glory in battle, subjugation of enemies, that sort of thing. They can range from good to evil. One of the things that 5e did is they took away the requirement that you have to be a good aligned creature to be a paladin, which is kind of nice, because there are definitely going to be evil paladins out there, because all you have to do is, make an oath to a higher power and you can be a paladin. So Oath of Conquest is looking for glory in battle, that sort of thing. And they can go anywhere from the peak of divinity all the way down to the deepest circle of the hells, and be perfectly within their oath, depending upon what it is. They can also hate each other and get after each other, which is kind of unique for this one. There's 1 or 2 other ones that have a similar sort of thing, but it is pretty much across the board. They all sort of line up with the same ideal. Next up is the Oath of Devotion. They seek justice, virtue, and order. This one is a little bit harder to make evil if you're gonna go for that. just because you're looking for justice, but I guess you could spin it in a very specific way. However, the Oath of Devotion is also a pretty cool subclass, because all you have to do is be devoted to something technically, and you can take that oath, whatever it is, as long as you have made an oath to stay devoted to whatever that thing is. Next up is the Oath of Glory. This one's pretty straightforward. They are seeking glory of any kind. This one can also be kind of like evil, kind of good, but most of the time, like, glory is obviously spun as good anyway. This one, again, pretty easy to take. All you have to do is be like, yeah, I want some glory, and then you got yourself an Oath of Glory. not quite that simple, but it is one of those things where it's like, you can really sort of skin that however you want to. They are a little bit more like athletic and charisma based than some of the other ones, just because of that. Next up is the Oath of Redemption. This one is I don't really see a good way to make this one evil, unless you're like doing it from the perspective of the evil creatures or something like that, because they are billed to be sort of like more pacifist. They turn to violence as sort of a last resort only. So you are more looking at like the guy who's gonna like pick a flower and go give it to somebody or something like that. If you haven't seen Unsleeping City 2, there's gonna be a quick spoiler here. That you can come back when I take a sip out of my mug again. Riki Matsui ends up being a Oath of Redemption Paladin after the first season, and he is you can see Zach kind of struggling with how to play it exactly, but it's pretty cool. Anyway. Next up, after the Oath of Redemption, is the Oath of the Ancients, which obviously is the oldest one of them. They have them sort of like spun as this is like a Feywild-based oath, but you don't necessarily have to do it that way. I would think you'd have to reskin a couple of things in there, like your channel divinity. One of them is Nature's Wrath, and so you'd probably need to futz with that just a little bit. But they are ultimately preservers of light, in theory. They have thrown their lot in with the light side of the cosmos, is what the book says. So take that how you will. After the Oath of the Ancients is the Oath of the Crown. This is really one of the only ones where you don't have to like swear to a higher power, or that it's harder to do actually if you swear to a higher power, because this is literally just looking at swearing to a throne of some sort, to a civilization, to a nation, that sort of thing. This is where you get like your traditional sort of like knights, like knights across the board who make this oath would be devoted to then their ruler or whoever it is, devoted to the nation that they are serving. After the Oath of the Crown is the Oath of the Watchers. This one is actually kind of cool to me, specifically flavor-wise, because it is one of the only ones that, at least to me, feels kind of like they are like shooting past what they can immediately see and touch, because they are like the defenders of threats from outside of the inner planes, more or less. Like the Watchers are sort of sentinels that beat back the forces of the outer planes and whatever, which is really cool, because it feels like you can take this oath and sort of play it however you want, so long as when you get to the point where you are called on to, take out some kind of extraplanar threat, you do that. Honestly, that's it, because it feels like you can do most anything that you actually want to with this one, which is pretty cool. You can do most anything you want with any of them, but this one feels like it's sort of built into it. After that is the Oath of Vengeance, which a lot of people say is the best one, simply because of their channel divinity, Vow of Enmity. I don't know if that's how you actually say it, but we're going to go with it. It gives you advantage. You can use the bonus action to make this vow and then get advantage against a creature that you can see within 10 feet of you. You gain advantage you gain that advantage for a minute or until it drops to 0 hit points. So like you can just like say you, and then you can beat it just sort of down into dust, essentially. It's a very, very cool subclass overall. Otherwise, they are uh, they are very strong. And really, all you need to do to take this thing is to have seen some kind of a sin that you want to punish, or you know of something that is some kind of a sin that you want to punish. That is all it takes to take this oath in the book, at least. Spoilers for campaign 1 of Critical Role if you haven't seen it yet. Again, take a sip when I'm done talking. So Vax becomes a Oath of Vengeance paladin for the Raven Queen in that he tries to go and take out Vecna, and then ultimately, there's a whole thing. But that is how he ends up on that path, and he uses it to get his sneak attack a lot. All right, and then finally we have the Oathbreaker Paladin. These are billed as being evil, but I don't love that, because it plays back into the you have to be good to be a paladin kind of idea. And so I have reskinned it a couple of times just to sort of see how it feels, because Oathbreaker is all about like controlling undead and being scary and rah, that sort of thing. But the at its core, it is about breaking a sacred oath. And in the book, it says it turns to dark ambition or evil power. But I don't really like that. Like, if you are an Oath of Conquest paladin and you are serving like a lower circle of hell, and you're like, you know what? Nah, not doing that anymore, and you break your oath, I don't think you need to stay evil. I think you can be like, oh man, I really need to get my act together. While it might be easier to shift to an Oath of Redemption there, maybe you don't want necessarily to take up a new oath to hold. Maybe you want to explore your individuality a little bit, and so you go ahead and you be a Oathbreaker Paladin. But you're going to have to reflavor that if that's the way that you want to actually run that as a DM. But that is the end of the subclasses. That is everything I want to talk to you guys about today. Thank you guys so much for tuning in and making me part of your morning routine. I really do appreciate it. And thank you so much in particular to my patrons. You guys are the ones that really make this show possible. I really, really appreciate you and everything you've done for me and for this channel. If you're able to and want to support the show, there's a link to my Patreon in the description of this video. Go check it out. I post some homebrew stuff on there a good few times a month, so there is something in it for you other than just tossing some cash towards the show. But as I mentioned, that is the end of what I wanted to talk to you guys about today. I will see you guys tomorrow, and until next time, keep on rolling. Oh.